Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here, Golden Opportunities Coaching. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is discuss a variety of topics, social, emotional, psychological, and coaching related. And we do that almost on a daily basis in an audio format. Today we're going to discuss signs of depression, and some of them will be easy to spot, others not so much. There's about 7 or 8 that I want to discuss with everybody. Obviously, don't take this as medical advice. If you believe someone you love or is meaningful to you, or you yourself are struggling with a mental or emotional instability, then certainly seek medical attention from a qualified counselor, therapist, coach, or other individual. But there are 7 or 8 things that exist when a person is dealing with depression, and many of them come together. So it's not just a one and done. But if you see 2, 3, 4 of these signs coming quickly being over, let's say, at least a 2-week to 4-week span, then chances are you're dealing with someone that has at least moderate depression. The first is ghosting. If a person disappears on you for no reason, and you can't think of a reason they would disappear, and they've been consistent with you before. This isn't just for dating, it's for friendship too, it's for family too. And this generally happens when a person just doesn't feel like being social. Now, obviously, there are cases where you think you've been ghosted when in reality you've said something offensive, frustrating, annoying, or in some ways the person feels they can no longer be of help to you in your life. And so rather than have a confrontation, they just duck out of your life. But if none of these things are true and they suddenly disappear, chances are they're dealing with at least moderate depression. Next thing is they lose joy in things they had joy in before, be they hobbies, forms of entertainment, goals that they had, things that they were looking to do. They kind of wipe out their day planner and just stop caring about goals. They stop caring about entertainment aspects or things that would make them excited previously. This generally happens because even the things that bring joy also feel like they bring work with them, and a person who's depressed often doesn't have enough energy to do basic daily routine stuff like get dressed or cook a meal or make their bed. And so the idea of going out to see their favorite band, not that we can do that with the virus at the moment, but going out to see the favorite band or going to the favorite coffee shop literally feels like climbing a mountain, and it's too overwhelming. And so that's another sign of kind of things, being out of balance. Another thing to consider is anger. So if a person, especially if they don't generally show anger, and they suddenly start to vacillate between negative emotions, most specifically sadness and anger. So I'm sad, I'm overwhelmed, too much is on me, and then I lash out and I get really verbally cruel or aggressive. Those are signs of depression, because what a lot of people don't realize is that anger, and this hopefully is going to be helpful for some people who are struggling to get things to click in their own life or get things to click with a person they love. Anger is just sadness turned up, like turning up the volume, and pushed outward. So anger has a root cause, which is sadness. Sadness over trauma, sadness over injustice, sadness over things not being the way that we want them to be, and then it's just turned up and pushed out, and it comes out as what we know as anger. But the root cause of at least 95% of anger is some form or another of sadness. So another thing too is appetite changes in appetite, either overeating, so a person almost becomes gluttonous and they're snacking constantly and they're just like all over the place with food. It's an activity to give them something to do so they don't have to think. Many people have heard of mindless eating. That's just when you sit down with, for example, a bag of potato chips and you're sitting there and you're watching TV or you're surfing the internet or you're doing whatever you're doing, and you start with a bag of chips And you get up to go to the bathroom half an hour later and you have half a bag of chips. And an hour and a half later, you have an empty bag of chips. This is mindless eating and usually can be greatly caused by depression. People do it for other reasons, but if it starts out of nowhere and it's consistent meaning at least a couple times a week or more, then there is a potential for a mental health issue there too. The other is undereating. So a person who is overloaded with depression may not have the energy or the memory to eat. So if they have to go and actually physically get something, like it's across the room in another room, or they'd actually have to make something, which is even more work, many depressed people will forego food for most of a day. And then what I've often seen with clients is people who go, wow, I didn't eat today, no wonder I'm hungry. I've actually seen I didn't eat in 2 or 3 days, no wonder I'm hungry. Because depression does take away the function of memory in some ways to make a person feel like they can, manage daily tasks. The next is sad body language. So whether it's averting your gaze, always kind of just using a flat tone of voice, kind of rocking back and forth on the feet, waiting to get out, fidgeting, but slumped shoulders more forward, head down, avoiding any sort of, especially keeping a lot of distance, avoiding physical touch. All of these are body situational behaviors that are signs of depression. The next one is changes in behavior. So that's just basically if they are dealing with addiction-related challenges or risky behaviors specifically. If suddenly a person who is an extreme introvert becomes very extroverted, if suddenly an extreme extrovert becomes silent as a mouse, if someone was never a drinker and they're encouraging you to go out every weekend, all of these are signs of just wanting to change one's emotional state to get a desired result, which is usually relief, and risky behaviors are a way of showing that. And then again, the last thing is, have they been through a trauma lately? Trauma is anything that is an unexpected event that a person does not feel emotionally equipped to deal with, and it comes at them suddenly, and they don't feel that within usually 24 to 48 hours they can recover. We all have a grieving aspect in life, and taking a few hours or even a day to recover from an unexpected, unfortunate event is normal. But by the time you get to the end of the second day, into the third day, if it's still a fixation point, it is a trauma. And as someone who works with trauma recovery, people misunderstand that trauma can be as simple as a negative conversation for some people, depending on how fragile they are, or as complicated as a physical assault, threat of sexual assault, or car accident, natural disaster. But people often think trauma has to be something that's hugely visible. It can be a one-on-one conversation or a misperception for a person that's already in a fragile state of mind or being. So that's important to realize, and hopefully this is helpful to you. Keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.